So this is not my first take for this recording. I actually had to redo it because I thought his MP worked off percentages. It does not. It is straight math. So scrapping it and completely redoing my take on this. Angra Mainyu. This is a gag character that is straight like obviously if you 120 a character, it's gonna do more damage. But for Angra Mainyu specifically, there is literally only so much damage he can do at his base level. The only way you can actually get him to do more damage is to get his level higher and get him higher HP. One or the other. The higher his HP is when he finishes his MP animation, because the heal he has in his MP does count for his gameplay. It actually does. But the hot like if you can pop his HP at full if you can pop his NP at full HP, then you will do a lot more damage than you were able to before. So let us get started. First off, from what I understand, we're getting Hollow Ataraxia remastered very, very soon. Hopefully, it comes out on Steam and I don't have to wait a year. I heard that's how they do it. They release like Fate Stay Night, Tsukihime, Witch on the Holy Night. They release all that on console like for a year, and then they bring it to Steam. Is what it is if I can't read it this summer, but there's always next summer. Base attack 5k, HP 7.9k. Again, you want his max HP to be as high as possible. With how many the fact that JP has 100 spins now, I honestly would recommend, if you plan on actually using Angra Mainyu, not like obviously still for a gag, but like you're actually trying to use his meme in an actual environment. Like the enemy has a crazy amount of damage resist. Like this is something you're basically supposed to DOT. Angra Mainyu with true damage can kind of just bypass all that. So yeah, like my opinion on this buff is like honestly changing. It's not like this is not a good character. It's not something you should be like building or trying to do every single boss fight. It's like if there's a boss you could actually cheese the shit out of with Angra Mainyu, you might as well do it. That's my thought process. That is my thought process on that. So yeah, if you're gonna really play into it, you're gonna want him higher. But like again, he's capped off on max HP. If you bring supports, that is unironically, Angra Mainyu supports are the same you would use for the new characters in Honkai, like HP boosters. That would boost his damage, like a Merlin third skill would boost his damage more than any other kind of buff in the game. Is the only way to actually buff his damage. Star weight, star gen, Avenger numbers, MP charge 0.79. The hit counts not great, but they have been buffed. Like these two cards have been buffed over the years. Chaotic Evil, if you want to use them for face card stuff with Domin, you can, but like again, that's not gonna buff his MP damage. And again, if you're also using the meme to do true damage to bypass bullshit, Domin shit is not gonna do anything. So, gonna run through these two skills and then talk about the buff. Crit chance down for 3 turns at 50%. This is pretty much they're not critting you. They can't crit you. This one, enemy, you drain the gauge and they do less damage, 30%. And just real quick, talk about these skills. This is pretty much the enemies throwing marshmallows at you. Before Angra Mainyu had the guts, that is kind of what you wanted, because if they did too much damage, he would die and not pop his MP. He still needs to be alive to pop the MP, despite him needing to take damage. It's similar to Bizette. If you kill Bizette and she doesn't have a guts, she's not launching Fragarak. She's dead. So if Angra Mainyu doesn't have a guts, or he's taking too much damage before he can pop his MP, his MP is just going to do less damage. So you make the enemy throw marshmallows at you. He barely takes damage. He pops MP and he heals, and is basically he didn't take damage. That's the purpose of these two skills. Third skill has been buffed two times, and each time they just make the meme better and better. So first, ramp up of quick starts at 40, goes up to 200, and at the end of the fifth turn, he would kill himself. Second, first buff. They didn't change anything with the scaling. They reduced the cooldown, and they gave him a guts one time, 6 turns, and it gives a 50% HP. So he had a way to survive even this part, because if you have guts and you have a sacrifice, you can live. Sacrifice does not bypass guts. Although sometimes you might want it to, it doesn't. You have to play around the mechanics. So the issue with this buff was the revive with 50%. His Bond CE did 20. So for some people, it actually was better not to pop this skill and just use the guts from the Bond CE, because that is only 20% HP. It meant his MP would do more damage if the guts procced. So meme, but the meme circled back to you actually being able to do less damage than before. Now, instead of just being a quick up, it's also arts too. So this also ramps up to 200%. You get a 30 battery, so it's easier to pop the MP, and now you have the player agency. For even if Angra Mainyu is not a good character, and I'm not gonna pretend he is one, he is a gag character. You cannot say a gag character is a good character unless that gag is able to clear endgame content consistently. It's a meme until you use it over other things. But you can choose no guts, the guts from the old buff, or a 1 HP guts. The higher your Angra Mainyu, the more you're gonna want this one. When we go into the damage formula, I actually did it on pen and paper. But I'll go over that more in just a minute or two. But yeah, I really like what they did with the skill. Honestly, this is the best thing it could have done before buffing the MP. I do think making the meme actually work correctly is more important than getting the MP in a state that the meme works consistently. But if it works consistently but not good, there's no point in the meme. The meme has to actually do something before they can make it consistent. At least that's my thought process on it. So, passives, 20% MP gen when taking hits. For him specifically, it could result in MP spam, but again, I don't use Angra Mainyu like this. If you are someone that uses him all the time, you know how much better this works. I would assume it helps a lot if you're able to pop it back to back, but I don't see that many people using Angra Mainyu, even for meme content. Oblivion Correction, 10% crit damage, and 2% gauge every turn. This, I just want to point out, you need to hit Bond 10 to even get his first upgrade. In this take, I didn't even talk about it. But you will not see this unless he's Bond 10. You will not see this rank up unless you do this one first. Thus, you need Bond 10 to even do this rank up. So, if you also have Karen, getting him to Bond 15 is not the worst idea, because he actually affects gameplay like that, and he's 4 cost. At level 170 plus, I believe, you're able to run him and a 4-star in the backline while still having good party costs, even when you're doing buster farming. You have to be a little more aware of the CEs, but that is something you can do. And with Vich and Oberon and Angra Mainyu all being Bond 15, that is a plus 75% to Bond points to your farmer, and then whoever else you want, whatever 4-star you want charged. doesn't even get into CEs at that point. So yeah, for low cost servants, 1 stars and 2 stars, I would highly recommend getting at least one of them to bond 15 if you really want to amp up how much bond points you get. With the battery, you're gonna want 20%. Just makes it easier, but I understand how hard it is to actually get the coins. But also, you had to get to bond 10 with him, so it's not like you don't have any coins with him at all. Okay, MP. I did the math on paper to double check my work on this. Something you should know. This is going to result in a negative number. It should result in a negative number. If it doesn't result in a negative number, then you're not doing damage. Your previous HP should be higher than this. So this should be a positive number. 1 minus a positive number that's higher than 1 is going to be a negative number. You multiply this, 3, and that's damage, minus 1400. So, I use Plushie's video to do this. He doesn't do the 1 HP guts, but this is just an example of like how it would actually work. And I'm not gonna play the video. I'm just gonna go for the number screen, the number for the screenshots. So, base HP, 8,628. Nope. Sorry. Not trying to play the video. After the MP, 9,628. Angra Mainyu gets killed by Galatea. Comes back with 4,799. And true damage is 14,490. So, if you were to do this in a calculator, it would be 3... hang on, let me do paint. Because I actually have this written down. It'd be 3 times 1 minus 962. Okay, hang on, this is too much. 8 minus 4 799. Okay, so 3 times how did this on the calculator? 3 times 4829. Okay, you put this in the calculator, 14,483. That's so fucking close, it doesn't even matter, right? But yeah, so just knowing how that works, imagine you do it with 1 HP guts. So it would be 3 times, that's the parenthesis, 1 minus parenthesis 2. 9,628 minus 1. Close that second parenthesis. Now, isn't that a whole lot more damage than you would think? Again, you go from 50% up to 1. That didn't include foes. That wasn't his max HP. It could go a lot higher. And MP2 Angra Mainyu, again, it follows the normal damage scaling. But yeah, that's the TLDR for how this actually works. Would it be better if he had a taunt? Yes. It would help tremendously if he had a taunt. But with him having 2 guts, that is a problem, him having a taunt. So it's part of the reason why it is hard to like really balance Angra Mainyu. If he's gonna get a taunt, it needs to be when he bops the MP. But the problem is how taunt works with guts. It also needs to end the turn the second the guts procs. Um, and that's how I would want him buffed. MP taunt that only lasts until guts is procced. Turn ends after that. It has to work like that if they want Angra Mainyu to actually like function normally. So, and again, last thing for the Bond CE, power. He gets class advantage, like full class advantage against beasts, whether it's NPC beasts like the Latmu or Tiamat in Babylonia, or summonable beast servants like Draco and Space Arash, and a 20% HP, which is still better than the skill was. You'd want this one to proc over that 50%, 100%. So yeah, Angra Mainyu. The fact that his MP now can do like 30,000 damage. Usually, when you see damage resist boss fights, their HP is like super low because of that. Um, I'm not saying that he's super viable for this, but at the same time, that the example I did was like super generous. Like his HP can go to almost 16,000. Like we can do the quick maths on that. Like, 3 times 1 minus 16,000 minus 1 equals, for a gag character, that is a lot of damage. Like that is the base damage of what servants, like single target servants, do for an MP. Again, this is true damage. You cannot buff this. The only way you can buff it is if you buff his max HP. And he pops from that max HP. It has to be both of that. But Plushie, his thumbnail, what was it? Still trash. Do I disagree with that? No. No, it is still a bad character. It's still a gag character, but that's the point. You can have trash in the game as long as you make the trash. You have a reason to use trash sometimes. All right. Honestly, I had a lot more fun talking about him like this. Got to do at least a little math today before I get the game in. But oh well. Have a good day. See you later. Peace. Thank you for making it to the end of this video. If you enjoyed, drop a like or sub. Hope to see you in the next one. Peace.